Hi, my name's Roberto, and I want to help you learn to speak Spanish. In this video, I want to talk about how do you go about learning to speak a second language? How do you do it? I'm also going to talk about how I think you should learn to speak a new language. In this case, it's Spanish. And then part 3 of this video, I'll talk about how I learned to speak a second language. All right, welcome back. The question is, how do you go about learning a second language? Now, what's a trick? Is there a trick to it, or is it just logical, or how do you go about doing it? You can learn how to read, you can learn how to write, but learning how to speak should come first. Speaking is an art and a science. So when you're trying to learn to speak a second language, you have to start at the beginning. Now, where is the beginning? How far back do you have to go in order to start learning to speak a second language? Well, let's talk a little bit about how you learned to speak your first language. You don't remember because you were a baby, a toddler, but you learn, first you learn the sounds. Now, and you spend a lot of time learning the sounds. In fact, you really enjoyed learning the sounds when you were maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months old and such. You would really get a kick out of hearing yourself say all sorts of different sounds. You really enjoyed it. Now, as an adult now, it's really kind of boring, I would say, to learn actual sounds, and lots of teachers try to teach sounds with syllables and words. When you go to a class, a regular class, you spend a lot of time listening to students get up and say stuff in that language and read stuff off the board and stuff. But here we're dealing with the internet. So how would you go about learning to speak a second language through the internet? Well, you're not going to sit and listen to me take you through all the sound systems and all the vocabulary and all of that. You can do that yourself. In fact, you could do a better job than listening to a video and repeat. But if you've got nothing else, you can still listen to my videos and do some repeating. I've got some videos that I'll take you step by step. I'll break it down. I'll break the sounds down. The only thing is that it's hard to watch because it's kind of impossible to watch an old man lecture to you, and it just doesn't cut it. You have to go through the sound system eventually, and you can do that little by little. And you have to start to learn what we call utterances, which are maybe 2 words, 1 word, maybe you can start with 1 sound. And you start adding them up. And then you start saying meaningful stuff. So that's really the biggest thing that you have to do. If you want to learn to speak, you have to start to learn little utterances. Sometimes it's called a script. In other words, you're kind of writing a script for your head by listening and saying it. So it's a two idea thing. You have to be listening and you have to be speaking. That takes different forms. For example, as I'm speaking right now, I am listening to myself speak and trying to correct myself if I make a mistake. And that's the way you learn how to speak. So you have to listen to yourself speak in order to speak. Wow, this is getting complicated, isn't it? To actually move your mouth and let sounds come out and listen to those sounds as they're coming out. And also feel the vibrations. Start to feel, that's really important. Feel the vibrations as you're speaking, as you're repeating these little scripts or little utterances that you hear other people saying and that you want to learn. Because I can teach you all the little scripts and all the little utterances you want, but it'd be kind of boring. Your mind, your brain already knows how to learn languages. It did it when you were even a baby. Nobody told you what to do, how to do it. You just did it all on your own and you enjoyed it. Now, as an adult, you can still do it. It'll be a little bit boring because you probably don't enjoy going ba, ba, be, bo, boo. You probably don't enjoy saying ba, 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 be, be, bo, bo, boo, and going through the whole inventory of sounds that you have to have in order to speak Spanish. But I've got better ideas than sitting and repeating some boring sounds. This video being an introduction, I want you to, first of all, have it in your head that you want to learn what is called script or what is called utterances. It's an utterance when it comes out of your mouth, but it's a script when it's up in your head. To answer the question how to go about learning to speak a second language, first, speak it. Somehow. You don't know any words in Spanish? That's okay. I've got ways for you to do it. You can use your English words and say them in Spanish with Spanish sounds. That'll be interesting. You can, and then listen to yourself, right? And let me give you some quick examples just to throw you in the direction of that you need to go. If you want to learn to speak a second language, I suggest that you start with 2 words and then move up to 3 words and then move up to 4 words and until you can get 7 words together into a script so that you can use all those 7 words and then work your way up to 15 words. By the time you get to 15 words at a time coming out of your mouth in one utterance, then you can carry on a great conversation with 15 words. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm talking with somewhere between 7 and 15 words before I have to take a breath. So I can say another utterance. So we're talking about utterances. Learn the sounds. That's too boring. Well, learn to say English words with Spanish sounds. The example is sale, like the word sale. Something's on sale. You go to the supermarket and buy some meat on sale, for example. Sale. That's spelled S-A-L-E. Well, how would you pronounce that in Spanish? Well, I don't know, because I've never pronounced anything in Spanish. Well, fine. Well, teach yourself how you pronounce every letter, and then go on to another word that you know in English. But do it all up in your brain. Don't do it in writing, because if you're not teaching your eyes to read at this point in time. You're teaching your brain to hear and speak. And that's a very big difference. So you take a word like sale. There's a sale at the department store. And say it in Spanish. How would it sound? Well, it would sound something like this. Sale. Ooh. How can sale, S-A-L-E, be pronounced sale in Spanish? And in fact, that's an actual word in Spanish, sale. S-A-L-E is pronounced sale. Why does it sound that way? Simply because the A, S-A-L-E, the A is pronounced A. So you've got sa. And then the last E, which is not pronounced in English, is pronounced in Spanish, always pronounced in Spanish. So the last E of a word is always pronounced in Spanish. So that gets you going right away with just one word. You can learn the vowels, the A and the E at the end. There's 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, A. You don't have to remember any of this, all right? Your brain is picking up on everything as it's watching the video, as it's listening to the video. Your eyes are also doing something because they're watching my lips. My lips move around a lot. You're going to pay attention to lips here in the future. Now, how do I think you should learn to speak a second language? Well, that to me is rather simple. Not to you, because it's me. But I want you to start to learn not words. I mean, you can learn words if you want to. But start when you're ready to start to really learn how to speak after you've done all these other little things with the sounds. Like I said before, put English words that you know in your head, not in writing. English words that you know, short words, just so you can start practicing how you would say English words in Spanish. Because that's what Spanish people do. Spanish speakers that learn to speak English, English has many, many vowels. It has long vowels, it has short vowels, it has all sorts of vowels. So, I think that you should start to learn Spanish, when you're ready, Spanish utterances or Spanish script. What does that mean? Well, that means once you get to pronouncing one word correctly, start putting two words together and see how they sound. Say them so that you can hear yourself saying them, and by that time, hopefully, your pronunciation is a little bit better. But you start learning Spanish, in Spanish, by people who speak Spanish. Now, you can learn, there's many ways to learn them. I mean, you can learn them by reading them off the board, but that's not as effective as just learning them by ear. So I want to teach you to learn to speak Spanish by ear, because you always have your ear. Your ear is portable, you know? You can carry it with you everywhere you go. Whereas if you're going to read, you got to carry a book or whatever. No, you have to do this all in your head. Remember, you learn to speak your first language all up in your head. Remember that, and you did it. And actually, everybody in the whole world does it because it's supposed to be really, really simple. The brain is already organized. Remember, 200,000 years that we can prove that we've been speaking, according to, you know, the underneath of the skull here and everything. Anyway, we've been doing it for a long time, so your brain already knows how to do it. All you have to do is feed it the right information. So if you start feeding it little utterances that you want to learn to speak in Spanish that are meaningful, they have to be meaningful. And we're not looking at breaking it down into 2 words or 3 words, or you learn an utterance. Somebody says something. For example, you go and meet somebody at a coffee shop, and you hear somebody speaking in Spanish, and it sounds to you like a three-word utterance or a 5-word utterance. Hey, he said something, and it sounds like 5 words. Well, don't go around breaking them down. What does this word mean? What does this word mean? What does this word mean? And then should I put this word here before this word and before that? You're going to get all confused. That's not the way the brain learned how to speak a language when you were a little baby. You didn't stop when you were a little baby and say, oh, should I say this word first and then this word? No, you did not. You just learned it the way people were saying it. That's why it's so dangerous to say stuff in front of a 3-year-old, because he'll pick it right up and he'll practice it for 3 or 4 days. And if it happens to have some bad words in it, boy, you're in trouble, because everybody's going to say you taught him. And in fact, they're just like little sponges, and that's the way you have to be. You got to be like a little sponge. So start listening to people when they speak Spanish, or when you're watching Spanish TV, or whatever, and start getting little bits, little utterances. When you know an utterance when they start speaking, and then they end it, because either it's the end of the utterance, or they have to breathe and say another utterance. So you start learning to separate utterances. Don't learn to separate words, because you'll get all messed up. So you're learning utterances that have a meaning. For example, thank you in English. Thank you is 2 words, but don't break it down to thank and then you, and then put thank him. No, thank him and thank you is not the same thing. Learn thank you in English at the same time. Don't break it down. Just learn to say thank you. I would suggest that people are learning to speak English. In this case, we're trying to learn to speak Spanish. So the same thing with Spanish. Just learn exactly what it is you want to learn that has meaning, or else don't learn it. It's just a waste of time. I mean, you got to fill your head up with maybe 100 different utterances or 100 different scripts, and then we'll build on it. So you're going to learn that script, and that's the way you learn your first language. You learn script up there. You learn to speak a couple of things, and then you start adding words or more script on it and everything, and then you get really, really good. You can say anything you want to. According to my mentor, Mr. Noam Chomsky, there's an underlying structure in all languages that we can hang all these little rules and all these other little things on it, but essentially our brain is organized to speak. We're the only creature in this whole, universe maybe right now? Now, ending this video is going on too long, but how did I learn to speak a second language? And I did, because I speak English and Spanish. I'll let you guys try to figure out which one I learned first. But anyway, when I was a little boy, I started speaking my first language using sounds from the second language. I had the opportunity to hear other people trying to speak my language, using my words, but using their sounds. So when I learned to speak a second language, I learned the sounds, because to me they sounded so different. And so I started imitating those sounds and saying stuff using the other language sounds, which was very funny because, and I talked about this in my other videos, which is very funny because people made fun of me because I was still speaking my first language, but I was speaking my first language with a second language sounds, and it sounded really, really weird to my friends, and they would make fun of me, and I would go around saying, hey, I know how to speak a second language. You know, I was a little kid, maybe 5 years old, 7 years old, and everybody would say, no, you're still speaking your primary language. You're still speaking only one language, but you sound like those other guys trying to speak our language. So that was pretty funny, which is why I suggest that you learn to speak Spanish by speaking English with Spanish sounds. Try that. I think you'll like it. All right. We'll be talking more about learning to speak a second language. And of course, these few videos at the beginning are just introduction. We'll get deeper and deeper into all this, and we'll be talking a lot about what it is how do you go about learning to speak? What do I think? Or how do I think you should learn to speak? And then I'll give you examples of how I learned it. I think with those three bases covered, I think we're going to make some really good videos here. And I'm working really hard on graphics and all this other stuff and how to make my content better. So just give me a chance. I'm just starting out. Thank you very much, you guys. Press the like button and subscribe if you feel I've earned it. Yep. All right. Thank you. Bye.